Welcome to Figure Skating Land. My name is Jillian, and I am going to be walking you through what has happened this week in figure skating. Hit like and subscribe for all the figure skating content ever. All right, so first up, I'm going to talk about Nebelhorn Trophy. I don't know about y'all, but it was difficult to find all of the videos and clips for the programs that I wanted to see. It made me actually miss Peacock, and it's dramatic. You have 1 day or 2 days to watch this video. We're going to remove it forever type of life. And it was impossible to live stream it while I was getting ready for work because these little cuties were just so sad I was leaving. All right, so first up, we'll talk about the men. This video of the men posing with the flags is like everything possible in life. And coming up in first place was Sōta Yamamoto. One thing that stood out to me is it looks as if he's been really working on his artistry. His speed, especially in this short program, was really impressive, and I really like his transitions in and out of jumps. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of the battle for worlds for the Japanese men. Overall, other than the popped jump, or what appeared to be a popped jump in the short program, he had 2 clean programs. And in second place is Gabriele. Let me tell you, there is nothing that brings out my accent more than how irritated I got at having to search and hunt down these programs. So finally, I found them, and I have an unpopular opinion, and I actually really like Benoit's work. I know a lot of people don't, but there is something about it, and in seeing him at the stands, whenever his skaters skate, just the whole shebang is a delight for me. Overall, I really enjoyed both programs. I felt like his free skate had some stronger jumps, and it opens up with this quad toe, and he gets really great height on it, even though you do see like a little bit of snow flying, but hey, it's a quad. Overall, I was just really impressed with his artistry, and again, I had the unpopular opinion that Benoit programs are interesting and pretty neat. And in third place was Deniss. I absolutely adore his choreographic sequence and his step sequence in this short program. His edges are so deep and he gets so much ice surface. I also really enjoyed his spins. I just think overall his PCS could just be through the roof higher, but that's just my biased opinion. And he was in first place after the short program. And overall, of course, third place after the final program. And of course, I love a random ending. And as you can see in the free program, he went for the quad Salchow and fell on it. But despite that mistake and a couple others, it really didn't detract from the whole entire program. In fact, this program really reminded me of maybe some like 90s or 2000s type of programs that I used to watch, and it was really nostalgic for me. And then we have an interesting ending coming up. And as for honorable mentions, Roman Sadowski came in 5th place. I think this was actually an improved outing for him because in his short program, he made several errors. And then for him to skate as well as he did for the long program, despite those errors in his short program, I think that shows a huge improvement for him. Usually you kind of see something to where it all falls apart. Or if he'll make like one small error, suddenly everything fails. So I think overall this actually was a good showing for him, and I really hope he continues with it. I'm not sure kind of what the difference this year is, if he is having more training of like run-throughs, or if he is seeking a sports psychologist. Whatever he's doing, I see improvements. And the last of the men that I want to talk about is Junhwa Cha. This was just not his competition, but it's the first competition still, and I know that he is recovering from an injury. His technical content just didn't work out for him, but his artistry is still beautiful. Hopefully we'll see these programs, improve as he gets more competitions under his belt. And now on to the pairs event. The first place was Hase and Volodin. I'm going straight into their free program here because it was just on fire for me. Like, it was really strong. They are so in sync with one another, and it's hard to believe they've only been skating together this will make season number 2 so far. Miniki has apparently been busy learning German, so hopefully he'll get the citizenship soon so that they can make it to the Olympics. I was also shook the first time I saw this spin and then transition to a lift here. That is just something really unique I haven't seen before. They apparently had to change their music up right before the competition because of ISU rules. And I had to laugh because I kept reading about how their music was jarring in the beginning and I didn't even notice. But apparently now music has to be approved through Click and Clear. For some odd reason, I thought that was a suggestion, or maybe it was something to do with USFS saying that it's suggested. So I didn't realize that had actually became an actual rule. And in second place was Deanna and Max. I adore these two, but this program I just couldn't get into. I don't know if it was the music. They skated it fairly well. So I think maybe I'm just used to seeing them with much stronger music, maybe faster. But there was just something about this that didn't feel like them. They even have these dramatic, wonderful lifts, but it's great seeing it on silenced. But with the music, it just didn't hit for me. I do appreciate, though, their depth spiral here. And again, I'm watching it muted right now, and it just looks fantastic. And for their free skate, they have a water program. They skated fairly clean, except for their combination where the double axel was singled. Overall, I like this program much better than the short program. It's hard, though, not to compare it to Interview with the Vampire because that was so theatrical. This program will grow on me over time, though. Their lifts are so theatrical and just a joy to watch in person. And, of course, their depth spiral, I am obsessed with it. It's just so unique. And, there's the chance of getting to see Deanna channel a mermaid in person at Boston Worlds is something that I am looking forward to. And just seeing this type of lift in person while the crowd is cheering is just one of my favorite things. And coming in third was Cam and O'Shea. They showed a lot of promise in their short program. I was really impressed because you can tell that they have been working on the jumps and especially the throw jumps. So I was pleasantly surprised during the short program that, they had landed things so well and I was cheering along so much. But then we get to the free skate and I just don't even know where to begin. Like right there is where I had promise and there is where I stopped having the promise. She fell on the throw flip and then suddenly this fall on the lift, which could have been worse, and I'm glad it wasn't. And then it just seems like the program just kept kind of derailing. they fall here in a little bit on side-by-side triple sow cows. I'm not quite sure what, to think about this team and for the future going forward. I do see there is, some progress. But when we're thinking about, the team medal at the Olympics, what is the plan there for the pairs? Because this would get us kind of potential out of the medal contingent. I don't quite know yet what to think for this season since we do see some improvement and I'm trying to focus on that. But a part of me is still a little concerned. And hopefully this will reflect beginning of this season type of deal, but I'm not sold on that yet. And here are the women's results. And in first place was Elyce. She had 2 great programs. I really liked her spins, of course, in the short program. I was pretty surprised by how high her score was for the free program. Not that it wasn't a good program, but 142 is just pretty high, especially with a level 2 step sequence and a couple calls on some flips. This is an enjoyable program, but it does kind of fall into that trap that we're still seeing in 2024 of like Egyptian or Middle Eastern arms. But overall, she did deserve the win here. It's just maybe not with the score so high. And coming in at number 2 is Isabeau. I really liked Breakfast at Tiffany's for her. I think it is something new. It kind of forces her out of her shell a bit. And while she did have a fall here on her triple flip, the rest of the program was skated really beautifully. And I like that she was able to recover afterwards. Like she just went right in and still gave a performance. And she came back here strong for the free program. I just think she looked so elegant and whimsical. And, even though she still has that technique where it looks like it's really going to hurt her back at some point, she still was able to do her jumps fairly well here. I think that it looks like she is still growing, so maybe some of the things that we're seeing is just her getting used to her height. Overall, I just love how much of a fighter Isabeau is. She always comes back swinging, and just such a beautiful skate here, and so congratulations to her. And in the middle of me talking about Isabeau, this happens.
What did... Oh, God.
And in third place here is Hana from Japan. It took me a bit to find both her programs, but eventually the journey was over and I found them. This skate is really awesome to see as it builds with the music, and I especially like her step sequence, and I just think it was overall a very powerful program. She did under-rotate her triple Lutz and have a turnout, but it was still a very strong skate. And her long program, this dress is just so gorgeous. And she opens up with a very strong triple axel. This was also just a really strong program. She did pop I think it was a Lutz towards the end of the program. But that was after, landing all the other jumps cleanly. So overall, it was just a really great weekend for her. And I also wanted to talk about Moan, who came in 4th place. I feel like in her short program, she could have been scored higher. She maybe even could have been ahead of Elyce. Unfortunately, in her long program, she got so many calls that she didn't end up on the podium as we thought she would. I also wanted to talk about Maddie Schizas from Canada. I'm not quite sure, these past couple seasons, she hasn't been as strong as she was during the Olympic season. And I'm not quite sure what's going on or kind of what the long-term plan is. But I do know, it is the beginning of the season. And I actually noticed one thing that impressed me was even though she had a few mistakes, I felt like she came back strong from these mistakes. And in the past, I think it was at Worlds, I noticed that the programs would fall through a bit. So kudos to her for just fighting through the program. Also, before wrapping up the women, I have to say I absolutely adored following from afar Kimi Rapond and Isabeau's friendship this weekend. And now on to dance. Fear and Gibson were in first place here. I think they do better when they have more fast-paced music. So the end of the program was much stronger for me personally than the rest. Even when they have a slower paced music, they look like they are skating to maybe a fast-paced song. I do see improvement, though, in skating skills, so this was overall a good outing for them. And in second place was Carreira and Ponomarenko. They skated to Carmen here. I probably have an unpopular opinion that in this program they skated fine too, but I just felt like some pieces were missing. Like I felt like maybe there wasn't a strong connection, and they just don't have a whole lot of chemistry. And so, also I don't think she's used to maybe being like the front and center, but maybe over time, this program will kind of grow on me. And of course, I always have to tell myself it is the beginning of the season. Okay, and for this program, I should have known it was a Benoit program. As I said earlier, there's just something about Benoit programs that I enjoy. And the moment I saw its abstractness and just Benoitness, I should have known that's why I enjoyed it so much. But even then, like their skating, I feel like they just have so much stronger skating skills than some of the other teams. And I really do think that they should have been scored higher. They just have this more flow to their skating, deeper edges. And so I'm hoping over time, their scores will reflect what they're actually doing on the ice. I even enjoyed their rhythm dance, and I'm really finding it, to be honest, hard this year to pay attention to a lot of the rhythm dances just because the theme is just not the best for me. But I was still blown away by their skating skills. So I'm hoping that, they will be pushed much further along, and maybe some of the politics will allow them to be one of the top teams, U.S. And I want to talk about Olivia and Tim. One thing that I want to point out is even though they had such a horrific fall, that we are very lucky that she didn't smack her head on the ice. One thing that I noticed is they were able to get the program back and going without any other mistakes, and you could still see that they were totally into performing. After Nebelhorn, Olivia went on social media and posted a video that was primarily about figure skating Twitter, but it highlighted all of the verbal abuse that she saw about herself online. And, it's one thing if you're saying you don't like someone's program. It's another thing to flat out insult someone, especially, what she read about herself was she should be sticking to the dancing on ice paycheck. Those kind of comments, I see so many of them, and I'm always surprised by what people feel okay enough to type out. And I always think, especially with these younger ones, like she had mentioned, a lot of younger figure skaters are going to read that, and then we're going to see where they're going to get into this cycle where they make a mistake. People write mean things online, and then it's going to get into their heads while they're trying to skate. So that's something to think about while you're typing all of these things. And in other news, it looks like after Nebelhorn, Team USA went to Oktoberfest and had a blast. What was also discovered this week is that Rika has withdrawn from this season, and it seems like her stress fracture, it has not healed, and part of me worries that I'm never going to get to see her skate in person. I hope that over time she heals, but I feel like this has been going on a while, so I'm quite worried. And Adam Rapon posted himself skating again this week, and here are his run-through humans reactions, and I don't know why, but it just made me literally LOL. And it also looks like that Ava Zingler did a fashion show this week in New York City. All right, y'all, I will leave you with this week's adorable disruption.